Welcome back to another episode of our Wyckoff crypto discussion. As usual, today we will study the crypto market through the lens of the Wyckoff method. This information is for educational purpose only and is not an investment recommendation. Please stop the video and read the disclaimer. Two announcements today. First, if you have not attended the Best of Wyckoff conference, you can rewatch the whole discussion for free on our YouTube channel. It's been really a great experience. There's so much material there. Another free event, the first lesson on the summer cycle of the Wyckoff trading course. And I was a student at WTC, so it's always great for me to see new cycles, new students join the Wyckoff community. So Roman, thanks for your work, for your passion.
Well, you're welcome, and obviously I'm looking forward to that first session. So if you have a chance to attend this, that's great. If not, just watch it on YouTube on next day. And I'm looking forward to working with new students who are seriously considering diving into the material, getting your analysis to a much higher level of understanding and seeing on the chart. So looking forward to this. Thank you, Alessio.
Now let's discuss the market. And we have a lot of material today. So we are in the context of the uptrend. Relatively small demand is pushing up price on the background of low supply. This is such a counterintuitive principle, but we have to keep in mind the really big picture. It's very easy in this market context to be distracted by overbought signals. You have to think like a tape reader. Some supply has emerged yesterday on the Nasdaq, and this is a natural spot for supply to come in. But for now, we are seeing signs of absorption, in line with the overall market. The big breakout bar occurred last week, February 5th, if I remember well, is the most significant level to watch. In the meanwhile, the altcoin market is leading. We are in the first leg up of a significant uptrend, while Bitcoin is still lagging, but it's holding quite well. We always want to focus our attention on the leadership, and this is what we've done in the last 2 months. Your remarks on this chart, Roman?
Yeah, I really like altcoins. They're showing that leadership, so you want to go to that space. There is a lot of talk about the Bitcoin. Is this the top? Is it not the top? We don't see any distributional signs. I mean, we keep seeing this. We've been saying this for months and months now. There are higher target objectives. When supply comes in, it's being absorbed. The shortening of the thrust, one of the kind of like counter arguments that I hear from the technical community, is not necessarily mean that it's a distribution. There could be shortening of the thrust in the reaccumulation as well, and especially with the structures that are having higher highs, higher lows, like we're seeing here in Bitcoin. So for now, if you have a position in Bitcoin, it's still a go. It still has the room to go up, and even if it goes down, we're still expecting continuation to about 100,000 and above. So I like this channel here from Alessio. Look how it just points exactly to that 100,000 mark. So I guess my remark, and by the way, Alessio, I really liked your overbought sickness semantic. If it doesn't show distributional signs, don't look for them, because your mind distracts you from the truth of the chart. And the truth of the chart is that so far there is no significant distributional change of behavior. So far it's in the uptrend. So far it's higher highs, higher lows. When it stops, then we're going to change our opinion.
So crypto sectors. The altcoin sector, as we can see, is leading. And last week we have discussed in the Best of Wyckoff large caps like Ethereum, which are performing very, very well. But what I find really interesting is the fact that the shitcoin index, the low cap crypto sector, which was temporarily underperforming in the last weeks, is now attempting to create higher highs, which is very, very interesting. In the meanwhile, some profit taken on change token index, and the defined index, which I find very interesting, is breaking this long-term consolidation. So I think that the breadth of the market is improving, which is a very good sign. And Roman, I suspect that we are just at the beginning of a significant uptrend. So we are probably in the first leg.
Yeah, and again, I think we've been saying this, for a while, that not just Bitcoin, but everything in the crypto world is kind of like positions for an uptrend. And when a lot of the crypto assets, like in stock market, are positioned in the bullish way, you could expect a significant rally. You could expect the rally that might even surprise you of how wide this rally could be among the crypto assets. And I think, Alessio just showed to us confirmations, like where altcoin is outperforming, DeFi is starting to finally get out, and it has some demand characteristics there. Exchange tokens are just like behaving so well, and we're seeing the breakout here. And then on the low caps, look at how the volume signature comes in at these two spots. But yet, what is the result of this? In both cases, we kind of see that there is no follow through to the downside. So this is an element of vertical absorption, meaning that supply is coming in and it's being absorbed almost instantly without significant result to the downside. And that is suggestive of continuation. So when you look at the market overall, I would absolutely agree with Alessio. We are in the rally mode. It could go for a while, and we're going to see higher prices.
Uniswap, we have reviewed this asset in the last crypto discussion. So beautiful accumulation structure, buyers are accepting higher prices. And I think that the high volatility in this structure can create some issues, especially for beginners, because it's very hard to hold on during this very volatile swings. But we have to think about the big structure. So basically, we see a first accumulation range, and then institutions are accumulating on the way up, and this big volatile range is still in line with the bullish context of the market. And even the phase C, which is quite dramatic here, still creates a higher high. And that volatility, we have to put that volatility in the context of the Nasdaq, what has happened in the last month. So still a higher low compared to the market, which I think it's very, very interesting. Your max, Roman.
I really like this expansion of the volume signature. We usually would like to see on the wave where institutions are buying, demand steadily increasing throughout the whole wave, and we see exactly that. Then we have the stop-in action, buy-in climax. Now, Alessio talked about phase C, so second point of fear here after the change of behavior. Change of behavior has a lot of buying behind it as well. I really like this pattern in cryptos where they are showing almost instantaneous buying on the change of behavior. I think this is such a big clue for the bias character. And then a bunch of stuff in phase B where we have rallies on demand characteristics, and those are overcoming in the upthrust type of action. And then, this testing was really good. What also is so encouraging is that demand is coming in on the way out of phase C. So we've had demand here, and now demand is reemerging. So that suggests continuation. And yes, I would agree with Alessio. Very volatile look. There is a lot of kind of spots where amateur would be thinking like, yeah, this is a distribution, we are done. There's a lot of supply coming in, structure is being damaged. But in reality, the result is very, very positive. So, and that kind of the confusion that some people might have about this.
Chainlink, so we have discussed Chainlink in the first quarter of the year. It has been out of favor for a while, but look at the last reaccumulation structure. So that really nasty shakeout has produced another reaccumulation. And when you see this chart on the logarithmic scale, you really have this good perspective that tell you this is not a threatening action. You have to see confirmation on the way up, but the context of the market is still a reaccumulation in a larger structure. So your remarks, Roman?
Yeah, so many great things here that we could talk about. So for instance, I'm circling here small distributional areas into the climactic run that start producing changes of behavior. And you kind of could see that the magnitude of those smaller distributional ranges and the changes of behavior are different. So that is suggestive not just of the environment, which is the trading range, but also of the duration of the trading range. And that's a good piece of information. Alexio, I really like how cryptos, and maybe I'm getting used to the looks now, because it's been challenging, of course. It took me probably like a month or two to get into the rhythm of the market. But I see a lot of this change of behavior as the lowest low. And then after that, we go into a higher low mode. And that creates the apex formation, and it's out of that apex formation that we're getting out. So Alyssa, I really like those apexes now.
Yes, I love this pattern as well, and it's very typical of momentum instruments in general, so not just crypto. So I really love this. So the scary action is always at the beginning. It's like when Bruce talks about the first low in a accumulation. So
yeah. And there is obviously the context there, when we talk about the lowest low as on the change of behavior, is that the lowest low followed by higher lows suggests the strength of the structure and obviously continuation.
So 1 inch here, new coin, we can find this pattern a lot of IPO in the stock market. So we do not have a big causality here. But look at this beautiful accumulation on the way up, and then we stay in the upper part of the whole trading range. I really like the structure, so I have a position in 1 inch, and let's see how it will develop. So,
okay, but it's not on Kraken, so why are we even discussing?
I know, but we have a candidate on Kraken, very speculative this time.
Okay, so IPO. Right? Am I saying this correctly, Alessio?
Let's say ICO in the
okay.
world of
Well, you guys
cryptocurrency.
understand what I mean by IPO. So there is an idea that with the IPO, you're gonna have moments, the rallies, where accumulation is gonna happen on the way up, and Alessio mentioned this multiple times. So you just want to see continuation of this pattern where they come in and they add more, and the volume signature expands in the direction of the bias, and we're seeing exactly this. It looks really good, but again, not on Kraken.
By the way, we just had an important IPO in the stock market, Roman.
Yes,
Coinbase. And I think that we will follow the price action of the stock for sure in the next crypto discussion, because it's so important. So now I think it's very early, but we will follow that for sure. Mm-hmm. So Polkadot, we have discussed this asset in the last Best of Wyckoff. So sign of strength. And right now we are trying to confirm this big structure. I think we just need another confirmation here on the upside, Roman. For example, a breakout on the last higher high, and then we're ready to go. So,
yeah, again, kind of similar looks. Maybe a little bit different here, more horizontal, but still, even in the horizontal structure, you have a lot of strength in phase B, and those are just like great to observe before the last capitulation by weak hands. Look at how the tail suggests that there is hidden demand right there. No follow through on the next two bars, and volume signature still stays high. So effort to push down, inability for the price to commit to the downsides, just buying. Really great dynamic major sign of strength, and then diminishing volume characteristics into the backing up action. And again, lowest low here on the change of behavior suggests strength and continuation, and I agree with Alessio, we need some kind of confirmatory bar on the breakout.
So reserve, we have discussed this asset a couple of months ago, if I remember well. I really like this big formation. I also love the volume signature, which is so aggressive on the rallies throughout the whole formation. Also look at the reserve BTC chart. which shows a clear accumulation in a horizontal range. We see a first sign of strength, then an LPS, which is still a high or low in the context of the big formation, and then each reaction is flatter. So I have a position in reserve. My first position was initiated at 0.1. The second position was not the best idea because I had to go through this period of consolidation. But when you look at this chart on the daily time frame and the log scale, you realize that this is still an apex on low demand and low supply. So we're just seeing an attempt to break out today, which has to be confirmed. But I still really like this formation. Maybe that my timing was not so good at point number 2, Roman. Your remarks on it, and please be cruel.
Please be cruel. Well, we're thinking what, phase C here, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So then the idea here is that we're going to go into a sign of strength, which we are, right? So the sign of strength is going to be what for us? It's going to be overcoming the resistance. Well, we're definitely overcoming the resistance that was created by the buying climax. Although this resistance has been creating a cluster here, so upthrust action. So the way how we approach this and the way how we are being rejected here maybe is suggestive, and this is just so minor, but you know those type of nuances actually lead to this type of conversations. That it goes to the resistance and not necessarily comes above it, and it doesn't overcome it. So therefore suggestive of some kind of weakness, and maybe just based on that, this was slightly premature. But Alessio, I wouldn't be sweating too much about this. I mean, like as a long-term investment, you know, there's some inefficiency here, but it's only for a month. I believe that we are ready to go up here.
Yes, the intention of the trade is basically to campaign this asset because I really love the whole structure. So sometimes some inefficiency of the capital in the last month, but I think that we can overcome this resistance very easily.
Yeah, so, and it's well positioned here. It seems like it's starting to at least trying to outperform Bitcoin, and yeah, I love this. Okay, what about this one?
This is on Kraken, Roman. So
oh, thank God! Thank God.
Very speculative, so we see a lot of absorption in the first quarter, and right now we are just trying to break up this whole consolidation. So this is, I think that the best picture here would be a logarithmic scale. This is an arithmetic scale, so, but I think that this is a very interesting chart, Roman.
Yeah. So the rally that has, you know, we've seen kind of like institutional presence there, and then they just go and become inactive, right? And then there is some buying coming in again and again, and between those periods, there is some kind of inactivity. But it's holding really well relative to the rally. So at about 50% retracement, there is a little bit more weakness, right? So usually we would be talking about a change of behavior as the lowest low. The lowest low comes later on, and actually we've just seen one of the charts like this. And then absorption, right? So we're going up. There is some supply occurring, and then there is a reaction. There is some supply occurring, and then there is a reaction. But every time those reactions are becoming flatter, and we are much, much closer to the resistance. So the breakouts usually are going to be confirmatory signs for us that are going to have some presence of the demand, and this is exactly what we're seeing. Yeah, and long term, I mean, I would be thinking, okay, target 1, target 2, something like this, and then obviously just to check out with Alessio, what could be the PNF count.
Absolutely. So Wi-Fi, we have seen the emergence of the leadership in the DeFi sector, and Wi-Fi is no doubt one of the most important asset in this sector. So this is a huge consolidation, but I think that it's very important to notice the volume in the second part of the trading range, which is so typical in the crypto space. So basically, we see this attempt to break today, which has to be confirmed. But I really like this structure, man, because this is a huge causality.
So
really huge.
how would you label this structure? Let's just go through a labeling exercise here. So we're
By
probably
climax
looking at what,
relative. Yes.
climactic action here?
Yes, for me, this is a huge range, horizontal range, with this extreme oversold condition in that point, which is so typical of the crypto space. We have seen this formation for other assets, even for Bitcoin. And now we see some buying climax, automatic rally, automatic reaction, secondary test, and so on. And I would label that rally in late February as a minor sign of strength.
Yes. Yeah, I
And
like this. So like up thrust action is a minor sign of strength. Yes.
or we could even think like this last big phase C in March. That would be
Yeah, I was
so.
thinking too.
And I think the rest of labeling is very easy. So basically, secondary test everywhere, and we're done.
Yeah, and I would probably be thinking like this is the stopping action of the previous uptrend. So just kind of generally give it a little bit more room, and then everything in between is B. Up thrusts actions are going to be in B. So here we want to note what kind of supply is coming in relative to what kind of supply is coming in here, and how we're approaching this, how we're holding here. So for instance, on this last bar, there is a supply tail. So supply had ability to push the price down as the price goes to that level. Here we don't have that, so there is a change of behavior in the approach. Yeah, and it's kind of hard sometimes to look at the large structure like this and to understand the labeling and so on and so forth. So, but I like it how, Alessio, how we've done this. I think that maybe the key to this labeling is here as a second point of fear. So here's our maybe like first point of fear. This is our second point of fear. So somewhere here around the second point of fear, we're going to have that phase C. Okay.
So this REN is lagging the market lately. But what I really like here is the fact that generally laggards in this market condition, after such a compression that we are seeing here, can have a very quick retest of the eye. And this is the same pattern that we have seen in the Nasdaq index or even crude oil. So I would be very interested to see an expansion of price to the upside in the next days. And so basically, it's another kind of play where we have a laggard and we are betting on a resume of the return of the leadership. So.
Yeah, slightly different pattern, Alessio, here. So I'm seeing already like this is the third example where a change of behavior, so climactic action, small distributional pattern. We've talked about this, right? So then change of behavior and then low after that. So again, that suggests either demand is very poor or there is presence of the supply, and suggests further retests of the support area, which we have plenty here. And then this is very interesting, a spring, and an unusual picture was the spring here, Alessio. So how would you comment on this? I mean, like, obviously you are identifying this more as a lagging asset, so springs would be more of a functionality of a laggard, right?
Yes, generally I don't like to trade springs or laggards. I always prefer springs or LPS on leadership assets. That's my preference. But you can still trade the structure here.
Yeah, absolutely. So structural trades, confirmatory trades here. Okay, great. Okay.
We have studied the structure of bands several times, and this is just another look. And Stock Charts is implementing more and more PNF charts for our crypto assets, and that's absolutely beautiful. And I think that we will review all these charts with Bruce in July. That would be fantastic. So what we see here, a first accumulation range producing at this unbelievable target, then a stepping stone, and the students Wyckoff Analytics will remember the stepping stone that we see in the first half of the chart, because that was a bias game. And after that, we are creating this big reaccumulation structure. So what's really interesting on this chart is the fact that the first segment, the probe count, has produced a rally, a count to the rally to $24, which is basically the major signal strength of this whole big reaccumulation range. Today we are seeing a breakout, which is very violent if you see the arithmetic scale on this chart and not the pointed figure. But what I really like on this chart is the fact that there is huge formation. We have higher counts. So if you pick the yellow count, that's a much more significant target. And so I recommend all our students to practice with these counts, because July is almost arrived. So.
Well, beautiful channel, Alessio. I love this channel because it just contains all of the price action in the uptrend. Beautiful confirming counts here for this top. And then just again, affirmation where we have the change of behavior creating a lower low. We keep saying this in this video, and then we recover from there. Also, I'm very excited that Stock Charts is expanding its universe of cryptos, and we could, do the PNF on cryptos, with Stock Charts.
All yes, right. I also really like the fact that these big, giant PNF charts can educate our eye to think in terms of big cycle. This is so important for cryptocurrencies because generally traders and beginners, also intermediate traders, are exposed to this huge volatility. And I think that thinking about this huge formation is the best way to manage the fear that can come on the minimal amount of supply that is coming in the market at any point. So.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, with this is it for today. Alessio, any final thoughts?
Thank you for all your kind comments on our Discord channel. So we are very proud of our community.
Well, thank you guys so much, and we'll talk to you next week.